Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt provider. And you can make them busy by going there and making sure you get all your winter storm supplies. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. And their telephone number is 631-756-1125. They've got everything you need to melt the ice and snow away. Omni Melt, Petalo, calcium chloride pellets and flakes, Mag Ice pellets and flakes, GeoMelt, BioMelt, shovels, snow blowers, and even generators if you wind up losing power. So head to Omni True Value Hardware in West Babylon. The website is omnitruevalue.com. So every 6 hours we go through another round of emotional nonsense. I have, before we get into the weather, because we're gonna do the GFS is coming out right now. It's
You realize that already. Normally on a Sunday morning we warm up with maybe 40 or 50 viewers or whatever, and maybe build toward like 140, 150.
Yeah, we're already there.
We're already at 131.
Now,
already.
if those 131 people watching would hit the like button, that would be great, because we want to at least get 100 likes, and let's shoot for 200 likes today, okay?
Now, hold on, you're doing it all wrong.
How am I doing?
Here we are. We've got 153 people. I mean, it's jumping by every second. So now I want all of you listening to me right now, if you haven't done it already, when I count down to 3, 2, 1, 0, when I get to 0, I want every single one of you to hit that like button. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, hit 0.
Well, you got 15 when you said, now 81. Okay, we're almost at 100.
I want to see that jump. Look at this, Joe. Look at the jumping like.
Yeah, I know it is. It's just going
77,
crazy.
86, 88. That's it.
Well, when it hits, we'll start.
It's almost like when they used to show, those of you who are a certain age, back in the early days of television, they used to show Peter Pan with Mary Martin and Cyril Richard. And it was the play that appeared on Broadway. And toward the end of the play, when it looked like Tinkerbell had been poisoned, Mary Martin would look out at the TV camera to all the kids watching on TV and say, clap your hands. The more you clap your hands, Tinkerbell will recover. Please do it now. Please do it now. And I used to, watching that, I say to myself, all over the United States, kids are going like that, clapping their hands.
They are, aren't they?
Look at this, Joe, 131 likes.
All right, so we got there. They're all waiting for the weather models.
Yeah.
And the GFS is actually is coming out right now. It's actually already past the point where what we need to see. I'm struggling with a lot of things, which probably it's what we normally struggle in when we are dealing with storms like this, mixing, track, everything else. And I was kind of hoping that today, I mean, I think things seem to be zeroing in a little bit. I think you're
things are happening right now. I don't know if you saw. Did you see my rant last night at 11 o'clock?
I did see the rant, and
I mean, it came after watching the various local TV personalities, weather personalities, quote unquote, and I don't know how many of them have been doing it as long as you or I have, all talking about, well, things are growing toward a major storm in the middle of the week, and I'm saying, hold on for a second, are they really growing? I mean, if they were growing, I would be seeing storm amounts up, and what I'm really seeing, and I mentioned this on Friday, was a huge. Everybody's looking at the storm. Everybody is saying, "Look at the storm."
Wait. Let me just correct one small thing you just said. Everybody's not looking at it. Everybody is looking at snowfall forecast maps that throw out ridiculous double-digit numbers. Do you know that I went to look at some, and I know some of the maps take into account ratios and some snow ratios and some don't, and I understand that, but just as a point of reference of where we are 5 days in advance, I'm looking at places where numbers are ridiculously above the amount of precip that's being generated.
Right.
20 inches of snow, an inch and a quarter of precip. So that's an 18-to-1 ratio, whatever it is.
But everybody's concentrating on the storm, as you just said. Everybody's looking at the snow amounts being generated by these models. Nobody is looking at that high pressure system over eastern Canada and northern New England. And I want a friend of mine, you know him, Keith Eichner, who emailed me yesterday afternoon. And I said, you know what we're looking at? If you're an old fan of professional wrestling, I mean, I'm talking about back in the 60s. To me, that high pressure system is Haystacks Calhoun. That's the 601-pound wrestler who nobody could move or dislodge. And you've got the Storm playing the role of Bruno Sammartino. And what, in essence, we're watching here meteorologically is we're watching Bruno trying to push 600-pound Haystack out of the way. And Haystacks is saying, no, I'm not going to move. You're going to have to go, southbound. And I think this is what's happening, Joe. I think
well, we've said,
with each passing run, we're going to see that storm go a little further south, a little further south. And all of you who have been saying 15 inches, 18 inches, we're going to get clobbered in the middle of the week. I have a funny feeling you're going to be a little bit disappointed.
Look, there's going to be a sharp northern cutoff.
Absolutely.
Okay? Does the cutoff right now? I would say the northern cutoff runs on a line from about Boston to, let's say, the northwestern corner of Connecticut, and then west-southwest from there. And there's going to be, a sharp cutoff line where it'll be 6 inches plus, and there'll probably be some areas as you head the further south. This is going to be one of those, the further south you go, the higher the amounts you're going to be. Then we have to work out mixing issues. Mixing issues on Long Island are different from mixing issues along the New Jersey shore. And they're different than what happens in South Jersey. Then we have to deal with, okay, there'll probably be some backside when the low starts to pull out. In a lot of ways, with the reference, we've said from the onset, the higher the north of this was the key all the way around, with respect to the cold air, with respect to how far north this is going to get, with respect to where the heaviest snows are going to line up. My real objection is if you want to throw up a snowfall forecast model map when you're inside 36 hours, that's one thing. But when you're doing it 5+ days ahead of time, and you're putting these numbers up that show 20 inches in New York City, 20, all these incredible double-digit numbers, and you don't give it any context, there's a problem here. There's a communication problem. And you know what happens, Joe? Our folks that watch our channel, those of you who watch our channel are savvy enough. You're all weather savvy, so you understand all this, okay? But for the average person, Joe and I could get every snowfall forecast here right down to the snowflake, okay? And we will be locked in to the same, ball of garbage that everybody else will be locked in if this winds up being a huge bust and the snowfall amounts are minimal. That's all I'm going to say. Those people who do that do a great disservice to everybody that's trying to just kind of get this right, which is what we're trying to do.
We hate being lumped in with all the rest. And what we're saying is what Joe has just said, what I said last night. Any forecaster on television that starts showing you a map with, well, here is the preliminary. Yeah, you're right. 36 hours in advance, that's one thing. You do it 4 or 5 days out, and you're doing a disservice to your viewers. And I would never do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Crazy.
We have almost 300 people on, and they're waiting for us to talk weather. Again, if you please hit the like button. We really appreciate it greatly. Thank you to all of you who have done that. So let's start first off, because I think the way we should do this is we're going to take you through the process of everything that's going to happen leading up to it, because everything has effect downstream, and we have this first system that's coming through tomorrow. I've pulled up the new NAM from this morning, and of course today is just a gorgeous day here. It's a beautiful, lots of sunshine. We had some clouds and fog earlier, long gone. Temperatures probably hovering close to 60 right now. So the rest of today looks great. And then
by the way, again, I hate to interrupt you. Do you know that my wife and I, and by the way, we have Briller Jeopardy at the end of the show.
Yes.
And my wife is going to be coming on down to do another guest run at the request of Mr. Briller. But we could not get to sleep last night until after 2:30 in the morning. Do you want to know why we couldn't get to sleep after 2:30? because
I don't
for
know.
some reason, we have been living up here in Putnam Valley for 18 years. For the first time last night, with the thick fog out there, we were hearing a foghorn. And the foghorn kept going off every 2 minutes.
Oh my God,
I
where
mean,
was the foghorn coming from?
we don't know. We think it might be around the Peekskill area or down by the waterfront or down by the Hudson River. But now picture this. We're trying to get to sleep, and every 2 minutes you hear exactly, exactly. And I was saying, who the heck is doing this? I mean, why? Yeah,
Oh God.
just making to fall asleep, and all of a sudden,
Oh
it was
God.
crazy, Joe. And that wasn't a particularly dense
Well,
fog where we were. So
I'm sorry to hear that you went through such agony. All right,
yeah,
so here comes our low for tomorrow, and this low is important because it sets up the block. It helps to set up the block at 50 north and 50 west that we've talked about. Storm east of Newfoundland, which is going to lock in that big high. Now, the question for tomorrow, it's always tough in these types of situations because you have that cold air from the high racing eastward. You've got the low that's starting to sliding eastward on the frontal boundary at the same time. The NAB seems to want to change it over to snow from northern Virginia. Let me make sure I just hit the button that I didn't pull up the wrong run here. Hang on one second, folks. From northwestern Virginia into south central and southeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, even Long Island on the NAM changes over to snow, and Connecticut. And then, of course, it pulls out. This to me, Joe, if it does, I went yesterday. Let me just pull up. I'm going to pull up one of my maps and that I did from yesterday with regards to Monday, and I'll pull it up on the screen so everybody can see. Here we go. So this is for Monday. I kind of drew this sort of general area where you'll see it in a second, but
right.
I put a narrow band of a slushy 1 to maybe 2 or 3 inches. Some of the higher elevations in northwest New Jersey, Hudson Valley, going north of 80 toward 84 or north of 84, and into Connecticut, and just the outside chance that there could be a slushy coating, or maybe a little bit more, a little bit further to the south. I don't really see much in the way of upside here because this storm is moving. This slow is moving very quickly, and we're literally talking about a handful of hours that you're going to have precipitation falling as snow, and it does start as rain in a lot of places too. I mean, unless you're thinking differently, I can't imagine that you're thinking, that amounts out of this could be higher. It
Well,
doesn't look to me like there's much upside.
it looks like I'm just taking a look now at the NAM Foos, and at 24 hours they give us plus 3.7 VV. There's nothing on either side flanking that. At 1 a.m. And at 1 p.m. we're in negative VV or subsidence. So the only pop is going to come tomorrow morning at around 7 o'clock. They follow that up in the 6 hour time frame at LaGuardia now with 0.41 inches. That's the only really significant bit of precipitation that falls with this impending system tomorrow.
Right.
But then I take a look at the thicknesses at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning at LaGuardia, 545. You should be at least 5 decameters lower than that. That's the
Well,
critical
you could still get
540.
it to, if you're heading, if it was like 43 or two, we've seen it happen in
Right.
thicknesses sometimes at 44 or 5 if there's a good
Absolutely.
pop of vertical motion and the
Absolutely.
temperatures are dropping.
But the T1, the lowest level of the atmosphere, Joe, the boundary level at T1, plus 2 degrees Celsius. The others are at or maybe just a smidge below zero. But what's going to happen? Maybe we'll have wet snow mixing with rain. But I quite honestly, if that's
Well,
going to be
what are the T's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
the
The
T's
temp.
at 1 o'clock in the afternoon will be T1 is 00, T3 is 00, and T5 is 99. You
All right.
talk
Well,
about
I mean, because the GFS, I'm sorry, the NAM on its radar still has the blue snow, still in western, northwest New Jersey, northeastern corner of PA. I mean, it's still showing some precip showing on the radar. So if those T's are sitting at 0, if you get some intensity, That's why I figured let me just cover in case there's a little bit of intensity that somebody gets a burst in there and you wind up with a slushy coating to an inch or so. And the inland spots might be a little bit colder. The elevated spots might be a little bit colder. And then by 3 or 4 o'clock, it's all long gone. I mean, it ends very quickly. Again,
Quite frankly, I think it's going to be all gone by 1 o'clock.
well, it might be a little faster. We're kind of quibbling here for a couple of hours. And then, of course, it races out to the northeast. Gets part of that whole trough that forms the 50-50 low. Here comes the cold high. And the first thing I'm going to look for as a forecaster, now the NAB starts to bring up. Let's go to Wednesday morning because the high is sitting very strong north of the St. Lawrence River. I don't know if that's quite where that H is, as close to where Montreal is or not, or maybe it's west of Montreal, I think.
This is still the NAM now, right?
Yeah, we're still on the NAM.
Right.
So
Okay.
you're starting to see precip now. What the high and the dry air from the high is actually suppressed the precip further south. It's taking longer to get here, which from your standpoint, if you're looking at this from the perspective of snow, you kind of want to see that because at least it tells you that the cold air from the north is more of a factor. You see the pink and salmon colors in western North Carolina. That's freezing precip. So there'll be some freezing rain in the mountains to North Carolina. Take a look at these low temperatures, Joe. I pulled up the Weather Service forecast lows, and I'm imagining they're not really that far off from guidance. But they give lows in the teens. White Plains, a low of 20. This is Wednesday morning. Trenton, 20. Philadelphia, 24. Washington, D.C., Baltimore, 25. 27 in Washington. Then you head up the Hudson Valley. Albany, 12. Temperatures teens and single digits as you head up into upstate New York. So this is you'd like to maybe see if you really want to make a case for snow in a larger geographic area to come out of this storm, you probably would like to see some minus signs in front of these single digits. But you do when you get up into upstate New York, way up into upstate New York and northern Vermont, New Hampshire. But this is cold air, and I think this does help the snow case because of the fact that you're going to be clear most, if not, you possibly right into early Wednesday morning before high clouds start increasing rather quickly. So this is going to help temperatures on Wednesday, which I think are going to have a tough time getting much above the low and mid 30s, and I think there might be inland spots north and west that may not get out of the 20s.
I believe you. I believe you. With that kind of, this is a classic. I used to work with a guy at the weather service I was at for a good number of years, private weather office. He was from Pennsylvania. He went to Penn State, and whenever we had a potential snowstorm, he always used to quote. I don't know what the professor's name was, but obviously he was well past his his many years there at the university, and he always used to say, "The old man." That was the professor. He always used to talk about the high, the importance of how cold the high is and the position of the high. And he always, whenever we had a potential situation like this, he'd look for the quote, old man's high. He said, now you got to watch out sometimes because when the old man's high is a little bit too big and too strong, that storm is not going to do much good. It'll go to the south. And sometimes it's so cold and dry that even when it looks like it's snowing, it ain't snowing.
Right.
And we've been talking about that, how the initial shot of snow from this system on Wednesday, or maybe not until Wednesday evening, the initial shot, we may lose a few hours because the snow is falling, but it's falling through such a cold and dry air mass that it's evaporating before getting down to the ground.
Correct. Now, for those of you who are watching Johnny Quest down in northwestern Virginia and folks down into the Carolina Mountains, you can see how the wedge is working here. And you folks know it's all about the wedge when it comes to snow, with highs up to the north, wedging down the east side of the Appalachians. So you've got temperatures below freezing down to Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Asheville, upper 20s to around 30, mid 20s in Western Virginia. So this is one of the reasons why there probably will be some icing to consider in those areas in Western North Carolina and on up into interior Central and Southern Virginia. So this is important. The things I always look for in a case like this is I'll look to see what Rochester, New York's temperature is 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. And that usually on a northwest wind, that usually means that would probably be the low for New York City on Wednesday morning. And the colder it gets Tuesday night, the longer it's going to keep temperatures below critical levels throughout much of this snow event, depending on your location. So the NAM, Joe, then starts to spread precip up. It's in southern Pennsylvania, Maryland, northern Virginia. You can see where the ice is. It's got a low, I guess, northwest of Wilmington by about 75 or 80 miles. 1,005 low there. The high, though, look at that high, though. It just doesn't really move at all. And then by evening, your snow has advanced now. The leading edge has moved into southwestern New England, into the Hudson Valley north of 84, reaching up into the Catskills, the darker blue snow over Long Island, into central New Jersey. The NAM's arguing for the possibility of a changeover to sleet or maybe even freezing rain. Southwest New Jersey, southern and south central Pennsylvania, down into parts of western Maryland. Now, this is as far as the NAM is going to take us. I would like to look at the upper air on the NAM, because this is one of the things that is most important is with regards to the upper trough that's coming east. One of the things that I noticed, Joe, and this might help in the argument that the system will maybe be a little more south than it would be north. Watch this upper trough that is swinging eastward. If it starts to look more fractured with time, that would argue that the storm center might wind up going further south. If it winds up, staying very sharp and then lifting up to the northeast, then you could make a case for the storm to be a little bit further to the left. And of course, if you're in that 30-mile zone where something like that's going to make a big difference. I mean, that could be the difference between 6 to 10 inches, or it could be, coating to a couple of inches to just sleet and rain. So we're going to pay close attention to this. And I think now let's look at the GFS. Let's go to the new GFS. We'll start with the upper air with the GFS. And notice we have a few new people. We're about to hit 500 users, 500 viewers. A lot of people, I guess, must have heard the rumor that there could be some snow in the forecast.
Yeah, I said on our Friday night show, I said that probably this morning we would be coming into the rounds of more of a data set being inputted into the supercomputers,
right,
and allowing it to get a better. However, in looking at this last night, and tracking the trough that will eventually lead to the system for late Wednesday and Thursday, I got the impression that it would be more like tonight's run.
Right, it's tonight's, Joe. Yeah, tonight's and tomorrow's for sure. You'll because the short waves are going to be coming on shore, and there's your first system. Moves along. You see the northern stream is what's bringing down the cold air. We have had this brief connection in the jet stream in the northern part of the jet stream, running from northern Canada down into the east, which is why we're getting this cold high to come on down. It's an interruption of a pattern where we haven't seen that many cold highs coming down in the last couple of weeks. But here comes that trough. And you look at the GFS, Joe, you see the short wave. It's a nice little short wave. It goes negatively tilted as it approaches the coast. But and if you're rooting for all snow, you should be happy about this, because it's not forming a cutoff upper low, which would tend to want to pull the surface low further to the left. And you see what I mean by this sort of fractured look here? There's another short wave that's coming down behind this. And I think that is keeping this between the big high to the north and everything that's going on with the block and the blocking low near Newfoundland. And then this short wave that suddenly comes into Minnesota, and it's not really all that strong, but it keeps the upper air somewhat fractured. This is one of those instances that you don't want the storm to get too intense, because if it does, it would just wrap all the warm air in from off the ocean, particularly this time of year where the ocean water temperatures are still very warm. You want to keep this, you want to keep that, uh, keep this system, you want it to get a little strong, but you don't want it to get like some kind of 985 powerhouse.
And in fact, I remember, and back in the day, I probably could have given you the exact date, maybe even the exact moment. But a good number of years ago, when our good friend Alan Casper was at Channel Two, I actually engaged him on the phone in advance of a major storm, and he finally, after we chatted for a few minutes, he said, "Joe, basically speaking, here's what it's all about. It's the game of splits and blocks." And what you just said, Joe, in the last few minutes is exactly that.
Yeah,
It's the game
it's
of,
splits and
the split
blocks.
low, the blocking high, and that's how it's all going to play out in the end as to whether or not we do see a significant storm or not on Wednesday. But I'll tell you right now, from Friday, I started to say to myself that blankety blank high. Now I'm saying that for all of you snow lovers. You want the cold air. This is ironic. You want the cold air, but ironically, there are some times, and this looks like it's going to be one of the times when the high is going to be getting a little bit too strong. I'm not saying we're going to miss out on all snow. What I'm saying is that if you were waiting and hoping for 12 to 18 or something like that, I don't think it's looking all that good right now.
Well, I'm not.
In the immediate New York
Yeah.
area and points north and
Well,
west.
yeah. Well, I think certainly we as we said, there's going to be a sharp cutoff uh, as you go north. There's no question. I'm just trying to be a little more patient with regards to letting the models play out for another day or so before
Right, right.
laying a verdict down. But here's the GFS for tomorrow. It's a little warmer than the NAM, so it doesn't have nearly as much snow. But again, it's a minor event. And now, of course, you start to set up the next system. You can see the lower pressures in the rain that breaks out in the Gulf states, the big high that's up to the north. Now, suddenly, as we get to Wednesday morning, much like the NAM, the GFS taking a little bit longer. You have actually a couple of things, a couple of little low centers. It's hard to see the isobars on this map. I'm going to switch off just for a moment. Let's go. I'm going to go to the other the non-radar map, the one that's got the precip,
Right.
the totals, because you can see the isobars here, and this sort of illustrates what I was talking about with respect to the wedge. Here's the wedge down the Carolina Mountains, right in here. See how the isobars kind of make this V. So your high is building to the southwest. That means cold air is damming down the east coast and down the east side of the Appalachians. You have what looks like a couple of low centers here, one in maybe, I don't know, central Tennessee, the other one down near New Orleans, maybe another one down in the Gulf. So it's more like an inverted trough here that we're seeing in the Gulf states. It's moving along. You're also seeing the beginnings of the what's going to become the main low, and that's the secondary that's forming off the South Carolina coast, and it does that because of that wedge. This would want to lift up west of the Appalachians, but with the high wedging down, it can't. So all the energy gets thrown to the coastal low, and now you start to get this precip that develops during the day on Wednesday. Your high is still there. Your low's coming up. This is Wednesday evening, a little bit slower than the NAM by a handful of miles. And then this kind of reminded me, it jogged my memory, Joe, the January 16th storm. Remember how that sharply cut off
Yeah.
Route 84? I mean, you could literally go for a 3 mile walk and go from a dusting to a foot. But one of the things that it jarred my memory is watch what the GFS does with this surface low. So it is off the North Carolina coast on Wednesday evening. Then suddenly, the low starts to intensify and gets wrapped up because it's interacting with that short wave now that's sharpening up and moving eastward, and it's sitting right along the Delaware coast, the coast of the Delmarva Peninsula, maybe just south of the Delaware border. This is what happened, as I recall, with that January 16th storm. We had models taking the low center out to the east and offshore, and at the last minute, you wound up where the surface low sort of pinwheeled back, much like this one did. And then from here on the GFS, it slides it almost east or slightly north of due east. Now, if this verifies, I think what you could make a case for is that places like New York City, Philadelphia, Long Island, southern New England will stay all snow. The Jersey Shore changes to sleet and rain. Maybe there's a little bit of sleet that mixes in for the South Shore of Long Island for a few hours, but the GFS solution on this run was colder than the prior two runs. It was so funny yesterday afternoon. The GFS made one of those hiccups and changed it to rain up north of New York City. And you should have seen. I didn't see it because I kind of took a break yesterday afternoon. I didn't want to start going through another round of forecast emotions. So I said, let me just skip the afternoon run completely. I never looked at it until after the night run came last night. But you're going to still get these hiccups, but the hiccups are going to be smaller as we, over the next 24 hours. They're going to get smaller and smaller. So this particular run of the GFS, I think Joe suggests two things. One is the northern sharp cutoff, Boston, Northwest Connecticut, maybe to about Sullivan County or just the western part of Sullivan County. And maybe the northern cutoff of some of the heavier snow will be southern New England, northern New Jersey, Route 80, down through, southeast PA, south central PA, into northeast Virginia. And now we're at Thursday morning. The snow is starting to wind down. We're getting a little bit of backside stuff. And by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all that's left is what's in southeastern New England. And then it's gone, and, we can clean up. I mean, the GFS to me suggests, Joe, that it's a little colder on this run. We'll see if it's a little bit further to the south, I believe, which matches up with the ensembles from last night. So if you're a snow lover, you can't complain about this.
No, yeah, especially since there were not a few of you on the chat board who just a week or so ago said, "I'm throwing in the towel on
for
this
the whole winter."
The whole winter.
You know yeah. What that was. A few people have recognized some of the terms I throw in. You might hear if you trade stocks, if you fool around in the stock market, and the psychology of stock trading and the psychology of weather forecasting actually are kind of the same. You wait for everybody to throw in the towel. Remember I said that, Joe, we were talking about all these winter forecasts talking about a snowless and cold and a snowless and warm winter overall, but the snowless part in particular. And I said, as a cynic, I want to just take the other side of the trade because everybody's piled in on one side. Right. Well, here you go. Where did this come from? So here's the close-up view on the GFS, and again, you can, unlike some prior, it looks like on this run again, it looks like it was a colder run. The darker blue, certainly the heavier snows are going to be more to the south and southwest as opposed to the north and northeast because of the way the low is tracking. If you go up again north and west of Boston, doesn't look like you get anything. Vermont, New Hampshire, all out of it. It's going to be a sharp cutoff somewhere. Now, if it starts sinking further and further south, then there might be you don't want it to get much further to the south. It's a very, very fine line.
Well, two things. Number one, in regard to what you were talking about a couple of minutes ago with the storm from January of last year, there is a rule. It would used to be quoted quite a bit by the guys down in Washington, D.C., or actually Suitland, Maryland, at the Weather Prediction Center, Rosenbloom's rule. And Rosenbloom's rule, again, which used to be quoted by some of the forecasters, like, here are names out of the past for you, Joe: Junker,
yes,
and Poole, and Parozet. They used to say, Rosenbloom would say that sometimes when a storm began to rev up and run into the cold air, it would twist and turn a little bit more to the left or to the west.
And I think that's what you're seeing there.
Yeah. But the other thing about the cutoff, now, if you have a chance, could you go to either the NAM or the GFS run and go to the FEN, the FEN?
Sure.
Graphics at 850 and 700. This shows you the omega. This shows you the maximum area of atmospheric energy. And I want to show you, or Joe's going to show you.
Give me 1 second. I'm setting up another map. I brought up. It's actually the January 23rd storm of 2016.
Right. Okay.
That I was talking about before. So I will come back to this. So let me get what you wanted. You want the NAM?
either the NAM or the GFS. What basically we're looking for is the area or the region which is most likely to see the heaviest and most intense precipitation.
Right.
And usually,
You want the FGen for the 850 or the 700?
both of them.
All right.
And as a
Well, the
demonstration of what we're talking
850,
about.
I'm bringing up the 850 right now. You're seeing, because I know on the delay, I brought up the precip map. I want to come back to the total liquid precip map in a moment, but the map should load. Joe, the Omega is off the wall when you see it. It's coming up now. But you'll see on the 850 the Omega on the NAM and where it's off the wall in Virginia, Northern Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Southern New Jersey. This is Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock.
Right, right. And basically, this is the storm trying to literally lift or pry out that high pressure system, and the result is kind of like, well, it's kind of like an atmospheric crowbar, and you get all of these lines jammed together until they finally make one continuous blob of purple. But that's where the heavy duty stuff is going to be falling. And as you can plainly see, it's from about New York City and points south and west. And so that's where you want to be. If we get snow out of this, if you want to see the 1 or 2 or 3 inch per hour snowfall, that's where you're really going to have to be, I think, is right within that zone. Now to the north, you get you get some snow, but it's not coming down quite as heavily. In fact, nowhere near as heavily. And that's why you would have to think that uh, snow to the north and west really not going to accumulate all that much, as opposed to places from the city on south and west. And look, in some cases, it just straddles the south shore of Long Island. I
Right.
mean,
Well,
how close do you get?
here's the Omega on the GFS at 90 hours, which is at 1 in the morning on Thursday, and it's running up and down the Jersey coast of Delaware, just touching the south shore of Long Island, and then it moves out to the east. Now, but that's probably where your mixed precip and your rain is in that particular zone.
Yeah.
And just north and west of there, because if you look at the 850 temperatures, it's actually quite cold. The northern part of where all this Omega field is, the 5,000 foot temperature is -3 Celsius. That's pretty cold, and it's -6 just north of Long Island and in the Hudson Valley. And
Yeah.
then there you go by morning, all the Omega is out to the east. I would see just what the 700 looks like. Let's go to 10,000 feet roughly and take a look at what that looks like. And it's loading here. So okay, so this
on the NCEP models, when you look at this, it's usually you can't see the Omega at 850, but you can see it at 700, and that's what normally attracted me to
right.
this.
Well, I just put up the 700 here. It's got the Omega field over Long Island, southern New England, northeast New Jersey, down to just just east of Philadelphia to about Wilmington, back over into eastern Maryland.
And look at as you were concentrating again, 4 days out or whatever. But take a look just 24 hours from now with the storm that we're talking about for tomorrow, Joe. It's basically again the same thing. Most of the really hefty stuff, most of the energy,
there it is, right there.
Is to the south and to the east of our area.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The northern fringe of that Omega field is just about to New York City, Long Island, and southeastern New England. So that's probably where your heaviest precip is. But your zero line on the 850 here is down to Atlantic City. It's -3. I'm sorry, it's -6. The 850 is pretty cold tomorrow, Joe. Just to point out, if you do get some intense precip, that's probably why the NAM is doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
Because the 850 is pretty cold. That 5,000 foot level is cold and not getting warmer, it's getting colder. And so the bottom levels will probably have to correct a little bit. But I think I feel okay, at least for tomorrow, with the idea that maybe somebody could wind up in inland spots with a slushy, a couple of inches of accumulation, and maybe a little bit of a cheap thrill down toward the coast. And then we'll just wait and see with regards to the next one. But I want to just look at the precip. I'm using. Now, be very careful if you're looking at these maps at home, because this is where because of two storms together, you don't want to use total precip. You want to use the 24-hour precip with this,
right?
And just sort of center it. So I'm centering it for Thursday morning, and look where the dark blue is half an inch of liquid. So let's be generous. let's say that is, well, let's make it even. It's by half an inch, 5 inches. So this would suggest, and of course it's a running total of precip, so there's going to be more to add to it. But look where your heavy precip is, and look where it cuts off. I mean, you start to go up the Hudson Valley, you start to go up the Connecticut River Valley, it drops off considerably. So your heaviest snow is going to fall probably just, if I had to guess, if just to guess off the GFS, okay. Trying to get my paint thing to come back up here, so just give me a moment.
It's a pity that the 3 kilometer NAM only goes out to 60 hours. I'd love to see the 3 kilometer NAM out to 84.
So
but
I would say your heaviest snow, just looking at this, would probably be somewhere in a band this way. But look, I mean that's just a wild guess on my part, based on just one map. The heavy precip, you want to, if you're talking about 20-inch snow amounts, in some places, you better be generating at least 2 inches of liquid out of this, in order to pull that off. That's all I'm saying. And maybe in terms of the totals, perhaps because it's a running 20, it's 24 hours. Some places here are just going to wind down. So I don't know. It seems to me that it's kind of a tough sell, where you only have an inch to an inch and a quarter of liquid being generated in places like Southeast PA. You can't really put 20-inch snow amounts there. I don't know. Maybe unless the model's underdoing the precip.
Well, this all started on Wednesday when, out of the blue, my son, who normally doesn't call me in the mid-afternoon period, called me and said, "Hey, Dad, are we getting a big snowstorm on next week, next Wednesday?" I said, "Why? What made you think that?" He said, "There's rumors going around at the school that we're going to get 15 inches."
Yeah.
And that was the first.
They started those rumors. They started those rumors with a high number, didn't they?
And that was the first time that I looked at the GFS and looked all the way out to the snow numbers. And sure enough, you know how when you get above 12 inches, we're in the green, so to speak.
Right. We're in the green section of the bonus spin.
That's right, the green section.
Right.
and all of a sudden, I have a feeling, I hope this, for all of you snow lovers out there, I feel for you, and I hope it doesn't work out this way for you. But why do I think that, on Wednesday or Thursday we're going to hear boom, 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 boom?
No, you know what? Look, there's always going to be somebody that's going to hear womp 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 womp. But then there are going to be people that are going to hear ba 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 da, ba 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 da. Okay, so
exactly.
Well,
let's put it this way. I doubt very much. Right now, I have a feeling we're not going to be hearing the da 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 for in the Hudson Valley.
Well, maybe for you, the further north you go, yeah, okay. But I don't know that it was ever an idea that this thing was going to run all the way up to Plattsburgh.
No.
So
that was the other thing. I mean, we were talking about this with the other day about how the
WPC,
how NOAA had the zone of possible significant snowfall all the way up to Plattsburgh.
Yeah. So
and I couldn't understand that.
No, we couldn't. Now, this is we're going to do the Canadian model next. Okay.
Oh,
the reason why no, I know there will be no disparaging remarks about the Canadian this time around, and I will tell you why. But I just want to very first just quickly say for a lot of you folks, we've got close to 500 viewers on right now, which is great. Some of you may be new. Be sure to hit the like button. We're up to 244. Let's see if we can get that up to 300. And also, if you would, take the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button with your Gmail account, and participate in the chat on the chat board. We love seeing questions and addressing questions. And please, by all means, jump aboard. Let's see if we can take those likes up to 300. Okay, so now let's do the Canadian. And the reason why there will be no disparaging of the Canadian model is because the Canadian model was the first model last week to sniff out the blocking 50-50 low and this setup. So I forgot, someone once told me that the Canadian model, where it might excel is the fact that is when you're dealing with stuff that involves blocking because it's sort of part of their data set in that model. It's a big part of their data set to look at what's going on in Greenland and so on and in the North Atlantic. And in those cases, maybe the Canadian is better at sniffing out the development of a higher pressures in the North Atlantic oscillation going negative, and so on. And one thing I've noticed is I've kept an eye on this every day. The Canadian has been extremely consistent with this. Some runs a little further south, some runs a little bit further north, but it really, for about 3 days, it hasn't changed very much, and it remains. Like it looks kind of like the GFS. It's just maybe a little bit further to the north than the GFS, but it does have the same idea. Uh, but it does also bring the heavier snows further north into eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island. In the Canadians' case, it pushes the heavy snow up through southern and central New England to southern Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. So, so let's not completely go with the GFS idea, Joe, because of the fact that the Canadian again was good with sniffing out the block. It's been very consistent. So I kind of want to respect the possibility that there's not just one way that this could go. I mean, and we're talking about small changes now, but they could be important changes for some places.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. Do you remember the storm in 2016 where all the models were giving the tri-state area generally 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 inches,
right.
And then came the NAM giving us 25 and 30 inches of snow, and you looked at the NAM and said, when are they going to phase out that model? That's so ridiculous. How can it be so off the wall and such an outlier compared to all the rest? And guess what, folks? The NAM won big time.
Right.
That was the 27.5-inch snowfall that New York had, and all the other models hung their heads in shame.
They did. So, and by the way, going back to what you said about Rosenbloom's rule, just looking at I lost it again. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Let me bring it back. I hit the wrong button. January 16 and the 23rd. Okay, so if you kind of watch this, I'm going to hit previous map, I'm running it backwards just to get a start from Friday night, 10 o'clock Friday night, going into Saturday morning. You see where the low is.
This is the one I just mentioned, right? This is the big
yes,
storm.
Yes. Yeah. But you can watch the low starts to go out to the east off the North Carolina coast, and then what happens? It hooks back northwestward. I'll run it back again. Let me just run this back again, and you can see you see it very clearly as it started to strengthen. It made that hook back to the northwest, and there just kind of jumps out east, and then all of a sudden it pops back northwest, and then just keeps going northwest until the low center makes it almost to the Delaware coast, and then it starts to slide out to the east. Kind of looks like what the GFS did today. It looks remarkably like the GFS did today.
Right.
So that would argue that if it's a repeat performance, then you're going to have that. You're going to have You're going to have that walking distance sharp cutoff. So what the Canadian precip totals. And let's take a look at that. Well, now I got it separated because this is two systems. So they have the 24-hour. They don't have 24-hour accumulated precip. So this map really doesn't help us very much because it's got two systems in it. But I guess we could look. I just for this just out of I'm not really going to focus on the numbers too much. But I just kind of, out of curiosity, it's sort of like looking at a traffic accident when you're on the opposite side of a highway. You really don't want to look at it, but you do. But here's where the Canadian shifts that heavy snow northwest in that bluish green area in eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey. And this is, by the way, I think the Weather Prediction Center folks said that oddly enough, Joe, the Weather Prediction Center folks said that the heaviest snow is going to be north and west of the big cities. And if you look at the Canadian, that's kind of what it has. I mean, it still brings some significant snows south of the big cities, but just north and west of the big cities is where it puts the big stuff, and it gives its big snows to Boston. Whereas if you take a look at the GFS, excuse me, and by the way, there is an NSET problem with these snow maps. It's been going on for the better part of a year and a half now, where for some reason the coastal data on this is missing. So it's not saying that Long Island doesn't get snow. It just that data is missing. But the GFS heavy snow band is narrow and runs from Northeast Virginia, Southeast PA, across central New Jersey, and over Long Island. And you can see how the amounts really tail off after you coastal southern New England, the Hudson Valley. Once you start going north of, say, 287, or particularly north of 84, and there's very little as you go north and west. So, look, the bottom line is, in my never to be humble opinion, that we're just going to, we've got a couple of more runs to go. I'm going to attempt to do an early call tonight, because I usually like to do an early call when we're within 72 hours of the start time. So I may do an early call after the European's done and post it up sometime late this evening. This is WPC's probability for tomorrow. So if you look at what they're saying in terms of now the number here for tomorrow is the probability for at least 2 inches. Okay, and it's not very high at all. I mean, we're talking the brown is 5%. So WPC is really not overly enthused by tomorrow. They are more enthused with Thursday, Wednesday night into Thursday. And on their map, Joe, the probability for an inch or more, which is what they do in the long range, they only show an inch or more, but it's got a 70 to 90% probability of an inch or more from just north and west of New York City up to about the northern half of New Jersey, I guess if you want to say north and west of the Turnpike, down through much of Pennsylvania, Maryland, northwestern Virginia, West Virginia. The blue is 50 to 70%. Now, I'm going to ask you something. See what you think about this. So what if we say that the green, okay, that's their probability of 30 to 50. So what if we use the green area as an area where there could be maybe 1 to 3 inches, okay?
Okay.
And the blue will border the blue area. We'll call that 3 to 6 in the blue.
Right.
Okay. And then we'll call the light blue, where they got the 70 to 90, the area of 6 to 12 with the potential for 12 plus.
Okay.
I mean, what do you think about that? What would you think about that as a possible forecast?
Well, from that perspective, from this far out, yeah, why not? Why not go for something like that? I like the way the orientation, though. The orientation is indicating that a lot of the heavy duty stuff is going to be from about our area, the New York area, and to the south and to the west. A lot of times when we look at these coastal systems, Joe, it's usually the other way around. It's usually the heaviest snows. Sometimes it's to the south and to the east. But again, we have to take into account possible mixing or change over the rain for Long Island, for example,
Right.
and for along the Jersey shoreline. So, yeah, might as well. I mean, at this early stage of the game, you might as well say, yeah, that is certainly the potential. And I think 24 hours from now, or by tomorrow afternoon, when we are really getting into the nitty gritty, so to speak, we'll be able to get into making the proper corrections, or get more specific as far as numbers are concerned for mid and late week.
This is the Weather Service's snowfall forecast map for tomorrow, by the way, folks. So you can see they have a general area of a coating to a couple of inches running from, although there are some higher amounts being generated in the mountains of West Virginia, and then points north and east. And this takes us to 7 a.m. on Wednesday, by the way. So nothing of Wednesday's storm is involved in this at all. And you can see upstate New York coating to an inch, maybe an inch or two in parts of Connecticut, and so on. I do want to at least bring out what's happening out to our west today, well to our west today, where we do have that first system coming out and forecasting almost half a foot for Oklahoma City, over half a foot for Tulsa, the central and northern part of Oklahoma to southern Kansas, anywhere from 4 to 7, 4 to 8 inches possible there. And the Weather Service has, this was my forecast as I brought up earlier for tomorrow. Let's go for, let's just pull up the watches and warnings really quick here. We'll get those on board and let's see what's going on because we do have winter storm warnings up for much of central and northern Oklahoma into northwestern Arkansas. Winter weather advisories surround that. We are also seeing what looks like, are those, I got to just double check the color there. If those are winter storm watches, I know those are also winter weather advisories. For some reason, the color on the coast, on either side of the coast in the blue looks different from the color that's in the middle. I don't know why that is. But yeah, those are winter weather advisories up for parts of Nevada, southwest Idaho, counties in Oregon, and a few counties in Washington, and some winter storm warnings up for the Sierra Nevadas in California, and also a few winter weather advisories that are happening in northern Maine. We are seeing a beautiful day here along the coastal plain. There's some clouds out to the west. They're pushing eastward, and of course you see the cloud cover that is back down in the southern plains. That is our storm for tomorrow in the east. Want to call it that, the low. And then, of course, all the energy that is now coming into the west is the short waves that are going to be creating the storm for Wednesday into Thursday. And on the radar as of midday, let's give this a quick refresh, which I haven't done in a while. There you go. So, of course, the Northeast, there's a little bit of snow going on up in northern Maine, and you're seeing some showers offshore. And here's the system coming out for tomorrow. Not too shabby looking here, Joe, with what's going on in Oklahoma and in Texas. And then out in the west, that energy from our storm for Wednesday is beginning to move in, and you're seeing the precip that is heading inland. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Rayo, this is important because we want to see the sampling of that precip into the models.
Right. The data set will become more populated tonight and especially during tomorrow afternoon, and that's when we'll begin to really be able to hone in on both the intensity of this and also the track of the storm. Get a much better handle as to what I mentioned in my rant last night on my Facebook page, the windshield wiper effect going back and forth, so to speak, and also the waffling effect. I mean, once we get within 3 days or less, that's when everything is going to start becoming more and more into focus. Before, well before the 3-day interval, it's more or less an educated guess, so to speak. By the way, Kenneth Rosenberg points out, for all those wailing and gnashing about the GFS, he does a comparison between the 0Z parallel GFS and the GFS that's just coming out now. He says, unfortunately, the parallel GFS only comes out at 0Z.
Well, I think the Levi Cowan and Tropical Tidbits, in order to save some bandwidth, he's only posting the 0Z up there. Well, one thing, and not posting the other. So otherwise, he's gonna have less room for other maps. Right. One thing I did notice. One thing I did notice about the parallel GFS. Oh, by the way, we might have a special guest. Hang on, this could be exciting, folks. One thing I noticed about the parallel GFS over the last week is that it seems to have a horrible warm bias. Not just a subtle warm bias, but a horrible warm bias.
Yeah.
Trying to take this low up to Lake Erie. So, maybe they'll correct. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it's still a parallel, because they're trying to work out all the kinks. Trying to see if Bill Goodman just messaged me from the Weather Service. He says he's got a couple of minutes and he's going to try to jump up. Here he is. Someone's knocking at our door, Mr. Rayo. We should let him in. Ding dong.
Mr. G, the Mr. G of the National Weather Service.
Yes, he should be. There he is with his guitar. And what do you want? Are you in your car? Uh-oh, you need audio, Bill. We can't hear you. I wish I could sign language it. We cannot hear you. And don't get into a wreck.
You can't
unmute him. We can't hear you, bud. I got to unmute you? Let's see. Let me ask him to unmute. Let's see if he will, if it'll tell him that.
Maybe you want me to make a sign.
Oh, I think he's figured it out. Ah.
Yeah, I think I figured it out.
Oh, you did. Good. Yes. No, you're. What are you doing? That you are the first person that we've had as a guest to do it from his car, for God's sake.
Well, I thought you'd be interested in where I'm headed right now, so that's part of the story.
Oh, so you're on your way. You're on your way to put out the latest diatribe from the Weather Service, are you not?
Yeah, that's right. Tell me what I should forecast. Save me some time.
Joe and I were looking at the GFS in particular and noticing that the way it handles the surface low was pretty similar to the way it handled the January 23rd, 1916 event happened, where you had that sharp cutoff of snow just north of Route 84, where you went from a dusting to a foot by just walking about 2 miles, and it kind of takes the surface low, looks like it wants to pull it out to the east, and then all of a sudden it hooks it back to the northwest, and then starts to slide it to the east. So it has the heaviest snow band, northern Virginia, southeast PA, central New Jersey north, and across Long Island, and just north of there to the coast of southern New England, and never changes it over. So that's the GFS's view.
That's lovely.
The Canadian is a little further north, but it's also colder. And I was saying that the Canadian was the first one that picked up on the block, so we might want to respect it a little bit in how it's handling this. And we don't have a new European yet because that's still over an hour away. And of course, the NAM only goes to Wednesday evening, so that's just at the point that precip is starting. So I don't know, Bill. I can't help you with that. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, we got borderline temps at most levels. Quick shot of precip. Maybe somebody inland winds up with a slushy couple. Not impossible. And on the coast,
that's. I guess the question is where that band ends up. So I saw yesterday's 18 ZNAM had it have the city get 3 or 4 inches of snow, which was kind of surprising and not impossible if you get that you get the cooling of the column from above from melting snow. But I don't know. I saw some models also back off on that idea. So
the FOOS numbers on the European, I'm sorry, on the NAM were very borderline. Doesn't show a whole lot of vertical motion. I would like to see a little more vertical motion to pull that off. He's back to playing his guitar again.
I agree. I am.
Yeah, your guitar shot.
Back.
Look, concentrate on the road because
okay.
Please.
The way he sounds.
I'm watching the road, listening. I'm not looking at you.
Okay.
The way Bill sounds, it reminds me of the days of WOR when they used to throw it to the traffic copter, and Fred Feldman used to tell us about the traffic.
Well, we got this on the Prospect Expressway on the Kosciuszko Bridge.
Oh no, actually it's the Brookhaven Labs Circle right now. But who's let's not get picky.
Hey, let's talk about breaking news because you told me the other day that they are actually working on opening a Cracker Barrel over there.
That is right. Yeah, I guess there's a whole
Finally,
complex.
we become civilized around here.
Yeah, nice complex. A lot of condos. I guess a hotel is already there. I guess the shopping center hasn't gone in yet, and that's typical. They put those Cracker Barrels right near the major highways.
Okay, well, just checking because so there's something there that says coming soon, rocking chairs.
Rocking chair. Yeah, that sounds like confirmation to me.
So anyway, you're gonna have your hands full trying to figure all this out. So make sure you get to work in one piece and put up a couple of watches here and there so that we have something to talk about this evening. Okay.
Little early for that.
Yeah, that won't happen till the earliest that would happen would be what, tomorrow night or Tuesday morning.
Yeah, probably like at least 48 hours out before, if the confidence is still running very high on this.
Precip doesn't get here, at least where we are, doesn't get here until sometime very late Wednesday afternoon or even Wednesday evening. The high to the north is kind of suppressing it with some cold, dry air. So it's a plus, and it slows things down. It's a plus for snow lovers to see the high a little stronger, but as Job has been pointing out, if it's too strong, then you might wind up seeing something get shoved up a little bit further to the south. I mean, there's always complication in one direction or another.
By the way, I just got to look at some of the GFS moss and also the NAM moss, and starting very late Tuesday night into Wednesday, they have dew points in the single digits across much of the tri-state area. That's going to be pretty dry air. I think the dew point depressions are going to be somewhere in excess of 15 or 20. So that's what the snow is going to have to fight off to try to get down to the ground, at least on Wednesday afternoon and evening. And we may, as I still maintain, we may lose maybe a few hours to Virga, even though the radar suggests that we've got stuff, overhead. How much of that initially is going to make it down to the ground with such cold, dry air in place?
Yeah, that's true. The NAM tends to hold on to that a little bit too long. So if kind of go with if all else being equal, maybe add a couple of hours of snow to whatever the NAM is saying as far as that goes.
All right, Bill. So look, you have a good day at work. What time's your shift start?
Right now, you can see in the background, I got the radar back there, so I'm so I'm ready to roll here.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Always welcome. That was National Weather Service meteorologist, forecaster. He's on the forecast shift later today, Bill Goodman. And he works at the Upton office, which covers New York City, Long Island, a good chunk of southern Connecticut, the Hudson Valley, lower, and also most, but not all, of northern New Jersey, because Mount Holly gets to do Sussex and Warren counties up in northwest New Jersey. So I think we pretty much covered it all. There's not much. There's not much I think we can add with respect to what's coming. The next model to look at will be the European. Hang on, folks. I switched something I probably should not have switched. Are you there, Joe?
Because of the importance of the weather, are we going to finish out with Briller Jeopardy today?
Yeah, let me just get. I lost the screen because my thing went berserk there for a moment. Let's see if I can get. All right, I gotta try this again here. Hang on, everybody. You're seeing my Facebook page. So Zoom, and there we go. Oh no, there we don't go.
Joe, last night they were running a rerun of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for a second time on CBS. And
yes.
I've been watching that show now since I was 8 years old. And there was one line last night for the first time out of all these years of watching it. There was one line last night that had me like laughing for 2 minutes. You want to know what the line was? It was when Rudolph and Clarice, the doe that Rudolph has fallen for.
Right.
They're beginning to walk home, and all of a sudden, Clarice's father comes along and says, "Clarice, Papa, He said, "Get back to your cave this instant."
Oh, you never caught that line? No doe of mine is going to be seen with a red-nosed reindeer.
But, how many times you hear somebody say, "Get back to your cave this instant"?
I know. I'm sorry, folks. I'm having some trouble here with my switcher. I got just back full screen.
Well, you're going to improve it right now, because I'm going to get out of this chair, and the Briller Jeopardy lady is coming in. What's the matter? You're saying no. You don't want to? You want to do it? It's fine. Yeah. Oh, because Mr. Briller is so excited about this.
Oh, hang on one second. I got to get the screen back going so we can see Mrs. Rao, which for some reason I'm having a lot of trouble here. So just hang on, folks. There we go. Finally, I got it fixed. Yay! Oh, look, you're all gussied up.
Gussied? Hardly.
That was something out of the 50s. That term. Okay, Mrs. Rao, you've got the you have the question. You have the questions on this Sunday. Briller Jeopardy. The chairman is out on doing his COVID run, so we hope he makes sure he stays safe, Scotty. And go ahead. Let's have at it.
Okay. Well, he put together 10 questions and a bonus question at the end. And I got to tell you, a lot of the answers aren't what you would think they would be.
Okay.
And he says that he's going to give you a score of 10. Excuse me, he's going to give you a score of 7 to pass, and 9 plus gets you a chef's hat. And I had trouble with a lot of these. So here we go. Question number 1. If you order a blue steak, it is A, very, very rare, B, very well done, C, frozen in Caribou, Maine.
Oh, I'm going to say it's very, very rare.
That is correct. A blue steak, very, very rare. Question.
If you order a shoe leather steak, then you should be thrown out of the restaurant.
If you order, the most popular food during Hanukkah is A, matzah, B, kugel, C, latkes, or D, lox.
Latkes.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, latkes.
Question number 3. Ketchup in the 1800s was used for A, toothpaste, B, mouthwash, C, medicine, or D, makeup.
Oh my, that's an interesting question.
Isn't it?
Now I'm trying to think.
Very, very,
I'm trying to think this out logically.
Yeah.
I mean, give me the choices again.
Choices are toothpaste, mouthwash, medicine, or makeup.
Oh, one choice is more ridiculous than the other. And I'm trying to rule out, I'm trying to think logically to rule out certain things.
Well, it's got vinegar and spices in it.
All right, so I guess you could say that it could be mouthwash, I suppose. It could be medicine. I'll go with the medicine one.
Yes, that's right. I guess it thins the blood and is good with the spices and everything.
Yeah, that's what, when you mentioned that part of it, that's what kind of sent me there.
Okay, next question. What is the most stolen food in the world? A, French fries, B, cheese, C, hot dogs, D, pizza.
The most stolen
food in the world.
All right. Well, to steal a pizza.
This way, when they steal something, it has to be of value.
Okay. Well, of all those choices, I'm sorry. So you said French fries, hot dogs, pizza, and what was the other one?
B was cheese.
Cheese? Well, that depends on the cheese, though. Well, if you're going by value, I'm going to take to me, it's between cheese and pizza. And since you can't put a pizza in your pocket, but you can put cheese in your pocket, I'll say cheese.
Cheese is the answer.
Okay.
Well, some cheeses are very, very expensive.
Oh,
Parmesan
I
cheese.
know. Listen, just a quarter wedge of Parmesan cheese at Costco, where you can get it reasonably cheap, actually costs you $15.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, we
That's
don't.
right.
We make sure that the green can doesn't appear in anywhere within 100 yards of me.
The green can?
Yeah, of Parmesan cheese, the Kraft.
Oh. That's funny. Okay, question number 5. Spam. How much do you know about spam? Spam was invented in A, New Jersey,
Right.
B, Hawaii,
Hawaii,
C, Minnesota, and D, Spamville.
Well, Hormel is in. I think Hormel's headquartered in Minnesota, but I know that spam is like a big deal in Hawaii.
I know.
So
That's the number one user
yeah,
of spam is Hawaii.
yeah. So I'm going to. What were the other two choices?
New Jersey, Hawaii, Minnesota, and Spamville.
New Jersey, Hawaii, Minnesota. You know, it is extremely popular in Hawaii, but I'm going to say Minnesota.
Minnesota, correct. I'm impressed that you knew that's where Hormel was.
Oh yeah, no, I pay attention.
Anything with food, okay. What country consumes the most tea? And it's not the answer you might think. What country consumes the most tea? A, Turkey, B, United States, C, China, D, Japan.
Now, see, I would have thought that they would have thrown India in that question, and obviously the UK does, but they're not one of the choices, right? You said it was China, Japan, and what were the other two?
Turkey and the United States.
Oh God. I mean, China's got 1 billion people, plus people, so that would logically want you to pick China, but then again, it might be a trick question.
Yeah,
so
I said
I'm
it's not
gonna.
what you think it is.
Yeah. I'll say Turkey.
Yes, Turkey is the answer. The country of Turkey has consumes the most tea. Next, the fortune cookie was invented in Japan, China, San Francisco, or Putnam Valley.
Putnam Valley.
I'm going to say San Francisco.
In San Francisco, right.
So, by the way, that was question 7.
That's question 7. So you're doing really well. You're on a roll.
I got them all right so far.
That's right.
Yeah, so I passed. So I the pressure's off. I can blow the next 3 questions.
Here we go. What year was butterball turkeys first used for Thanksgiving? 1944, 1954, 1964, 1974.
Every year on Thanksgiving Day on CNBC, they have the day before Thanksgiving, they have the butterball person.
Mm-hmm.
And
answering at the hotline.
Yeah. And speaking of which, oh, there you go. My screen's doing weird things here. I'm sorry. You just disappeared again. So I'll have to find you. All right, so give me the years again.
A, 1944, B, 1954, 1964, or 1974. So when
I want to say, let's see, 44 was the war.
Right.
In my mind, I'm thinking, 54.
54 is the answer. That made the most sense. I mean,
yeah.
Butterball has been around for as long as we've been alive. Okay, what was the name of the first cooking show on TV? A, I like to cook. B, I have to cook. C, I love to eat. Or D, feed me, I'm hungry.
Oh God, this one's
good. I didn't know this, so.
Yeah, I don't know it either. Give me the titles again.
I like to cook. I have to cook. I love to eat. Feed me, I'm hungry.
I'll say I like to cook.
Answer was C. I love to eat.
I love to eat. Okay. I couldn't logically tear that they tear that apart. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, onward. If cooking embroche or embrochette, it means in A, boiling water, B, in tomato sauce, C, in broccoli, or D, on skewers.
The second one.
In tomato sauce?
In brochette?
Yes.
Well, bruschetta is usually that, yeah, I'll say that, the tomato.
According to him, it means on skewers.
On skewers?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
D,
Well, I got 8 out of 10.
Okay, here's your bonus. What is the chairman's favorite meal? Salmon, steak, spaghetti and meatballs, or fried chicken liver?
Ew, on the last one.
Ew.
Ew, on the last one. I
What's his favorite meal? Salmon, steak, or spaghetti and meatballs?
We had salmon last night.
We did.
I'll say spaghetti and meatballs.
Yes, it is.
I thought so. I had a
Not
feeling.
bad. So out of the 11, you got 2 wrong.
Yeah, and I got the first 8 correct.
That is right.
Yes, I was the last correct questioner. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
All right, so we're gonna switch chairs again.
Okay, Renata, you take care.
All right, and here's Joe Rao.
So let's Joe, it's 12:22. I am not pushing this show for the European.
No.
Not doing that. Let me just, by the way, really, let me say big thank yous to Paul Roman, Bill Northrup, Tyler Thompson, edited, Teppy 9076, Scott Briller, Sierra Sides. Oh, we haven't seen you around, Sierra. Good to see you on board. And thank you everybody for hitting Super Chat. Also, Jacob Bailey, you hit Super Chat the other night, and I forgot to say thank you. But I remembered your first name, but could not remember your last name. But I see you on the board today, and thank you very much for doing that. And also, Joe, 323 likes today, and I lost.
Thank you so much.
I'm having some kind of weird technical issue because our window keeps going to of us together keeps disappearing, and I have to keep putting up a new one. So let me bring up a new one again. It's just really strange today.
Well, 2 quick things I want to add before we shut down for the day.
Go ahead.
Number one, for those who are going to be looking for shooting stars, tonight is the peak of the Geminid meteor shower that we've been talking about for the last week. The thing that may do us in tonight, as nice as it is out there right now, are the high clouds. I think we're going to have a veil of high cloudiness tonight. Tomorrow night, it is really going to clear out big time as the cold air begins to rush in behind our first storm. So tomorrow night, you might actually have a better night. If you're going to be out tomorrow night, though, bundle up because I think it's going to be a brisk and much colder night. And number 2 is the fact that on Tuesday, our special guest here on Joe and Joe, the one and only Bill Corbell, formerly of the Rambling with Gambling show, formerly of News Radio 88, and for a many year period, News 12 Long Island's chief meteorologist. And the 3 of us will butt heads and try to figure out on Tuesday night, the night before the storm, exactly what we can expect on Wednesday.
And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt provider. And that's going to come in handy if the models verify at least. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125, or you can go to the website omnitruevalue.com, and you can order Mag Ice pellets and flakes, Petalo calcium chloride pellets, Omni-Melt, Biomelt, Geomelt. They are Long Island's largest provider of rock salt, shovels, spreaders, snow blowers, and even generators. 631-756-1125, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. And by the way, I just want to mention with regards to Omni True Value Hardware, they're a local business, and in the times we are in, where a lot of local businesses are having difficulty, this is a good way to get what you need, and you can also go ahead and you're supporting a local business. If you're on Long Island, that's a good thing to do. So just wanted to put that out there.
There's no truth to the rumor, by the way, in that view that you just had for Omni Hardware. There's no truth to the rumor that was my wife working the shovel.
No, if it was somebody repairing the shovel, yes.
Yeah.
Then I mean the snowblower, then that would have been Mrs. Rayo.
Yes.
Sierra Sight says your live streams are always so entertaining and informative. Thank you for all you guys do. Thank you so much for being here. If it wasn't for you folks in the audience, we wouldn't be here. And once again, it's just really strange. There's something weird going on with Zoom, Joe. It's causing us to keep popping in and out, and it's driving me crazy that it keeps doing this.
We might as well just shut down. We've been on for 85 minutes, for goodness sake.
I know, but
I don't know if you want to continue to go try to make it to 90, or maybe you do want to stick around for the European.
No, I don't. I really don't. I want to make some. I want to make some dinner. Sunday dinner. I want to today do something a little different. I'm making pork chops.
Oh, that's.
But unlike Alice on the Brady Bunch, it will not come with applesauce.
I'll be right over.
I do it in the cast iron skillet. I cook them like steaks, and they come out and they're delicious. So, okay, so tomorrow night you and I at 7:30 at our usual time.
Yes, sir.
This Joe and Joe Weather Show, by the way, will be available as a podcast in about an hour or so. So if you're late tuning in, or if it's easier for you to just listen to the show rather than sit down on a laptop or on your phone, you can also do it as a podcast. And I'll be putting up that podcast. Again, it'll right after the show's over, and it takes usually about half an hour to an hour for it to appear. And you can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a whole host of other places that call podcasts home. Those of you on my weather platform on Patreon, my subscription platform, which is a great way to support my YouTube channel, just to let you know, just going to take a little bit of a break to enjoy some sunshine for a few hours. And then after the European's done later this afternoon, I will be putting out my first call this evening on the Wednesday Snowfall. So look for that coming later today. Mr. Rayo, have a good one.
You too, sir. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow.